My name is Thomas Molnar. I was born Tamás, Mandl Tamás László. Family name is Mandl, M-A-N-D-L. I was born in Budapest, 1934, July 20. And I had following it, I had a sister, Susan, Zsuzsanna magyarul, Hungarian, Zsuzsanna. We were only two together in our lifetime. My sister was born in 1938. We have a large family. My father has a brother and a sister and their family. And my mother had an extended family, a lot of people. I don't even can tell you the list of the people. I put them up actually on the internet on Gini, the whole family. And dating back to my great-great-grandfather, who was in Abászaló. That's where the Ungar family started, and they came down. My uncle Ernő came to Budapest and opened as he was in the First World War as a soldier, and I think he was a communist soldier or something, because later on they started to be, besides being Jewish, we started to take to court or something like that. Then in 1938 he escaped to New York. He left the family here and he went to New York for the World Fair. He was a very successful businessman. He opened a big department store. First, he hired my wife, my father. He hired my father as an assistant, and they were very good in business together. And he opened a big department store, and near the railway station, where all the peasants were coming up from in the 1930s in recession, selling their goods, buying cheap merchandise, which my uncle created this store for. And that's how, through my father, my uncle brought in her sister, who was my mother, from Miskolc, and he married my father. And my father became a manager of one of the sub-store. The store was called Filléres Ungar Ernő Filléres Divatház. I have a picture of it. We had a very happy childhood. We didn't starve. We lived in an apartment, a big apartment, and my uncle, another uncle who was younger, brother of my mother, came to live with us. He lost his left arm, due to a car accident. So we had a happy life. I went to Jewish school. I went to Heder, and I didn't like it though, especially. And I visited every summer during Pesach. Was the time when I visited and lived with my grandparents in Miskolc. So I have very good memories about my grandfather and grandmother. They were very loving people.
Do you remember what the house looked like? What you did for entertainment?
The house?
Where you lived?
Oh, it was an apartment, actually. Uh, sure, I remember very well, very vividly. It was a three-bedroom. We called it three-bedroom. The middle was the dining room, and that's where we had the family meeting together. My uncle lived one of the bedroom, and the other one was me, my sister, and my parents lived there. For interest, in 2006, when I visited Budapest, I went up to the apartment, and the people let me in, and I was there a very short time because the memories came to me so much that I had to run out. I couldn't stand that anymore.
Did you practice Jewish traditions?
Yes, we had all the Jewish traditions. We celebrated all the Jewish holidays. My mother was kosher. He went to the kosher butcher and kosher well, so chickens and things like that. She we kept everything, and so we really, my grandparents came to visit and lived with us too, because we were really in the tradition. And I went to a Jewish elementary school, which was walking distance. It meant about 15 minutes walk through the streets. The first four grades, I still have the graduation certificate from that school. I kept it. It's a rabbinate where we're developing rabbinate school. I have the address, everything, if you want to know. Rögszilárd. And we were fighting with the other children at the school, the non-Jewish children and the Jewish children. We had fights in the streets, not so much snow fights, We were about 6, 7, 8 years old, very young. And so I did, every day I was going. Then when we came to March, when the German army invaded, occupied Hungary, March 19, I went to school as usual. And on the way, I met children coming out of the school. They said, don't go in there because the German army occupied the school. So I went home. I didn't know what the hell is it, and I couldn't go to school again.
Did you understand why? What was happening?
Well, my parents were very protective. They never told us anything. And the adults were talking children out, So, and I was only 10 years old, so not even 10. In July I got 10. And they wanted us to be happy. So they didn't discuss anything. I don't remember if I asked, probably, but didn't get an answer. We were more playing there was great children in the building. It is an apartment building, 670 high, floors high. Lots of Jewish people in the building, and the building was in March or April designated a Jewish building with a yellow star. So people were moving in from somewhere else, and we had to rent out because there was a certain rule how many people got one room. So we had to rent one of the room, my uncle's room, who was in May, all the men was taken away to a forced labor camp. And we had to start to wear the yellow star in April and May.
Do you remember anything about how you felt about that, or anything, or it just was?
I don't remember if how I felt. I was very, I was not politically like today. The children were different that time. I was not involved. I have to do this, I follow that. And I follow the rules or when to play, go and play. And I love to play. My life was playing. If no school, play. And I had to first my uncle came in with his son. Uncle was Jewish and his son was Jewish, but the white was Christian. And later on, that's who saved me. I tell you that. And so after a month, she took her son and husband back home and hide it in her place. And so the man left, never heard of them after. And there was air raids all the time. It was a game for us. The only thing that if I had to get up in the night when the air raids came, I had to go down the steps to the shelter. So
Did you eat the same? Was life the same? Were you eating the same? Was it difficult?
our daily life was interrupted. That couldn't go out shopping. There were certain hours given out when the Jewish people would go to the market. There was a market right to us, not far. That was between 5 and 6 hours. Oh, and my aunt, my mother's sister, who lived close to the department store, came to live with us. And so they joined us. So there was the two women, me and my sister. And in July, suddenly my father came home from labor camp. For 2 days, let him go. And he had two friends. They were grouped into. They were always together like buddies, helping each other in their job. And he came home. There was an air raid during that night. And remember, but we loved to have him home. We loved our father. And he loved children very much, not only everything. And he went back. Later on, if it's true or not, I don't know. My aunt told me, her sister, then he came home on the day she came in to see his brother and told him to stay, don't go back, go and come with me and her husband, who didn't go to, who was hiding, to hide. And then my father didn't stay, went back. That was told to me after all the orders. I don't know if it's true or not, I can't ask. So, and that hurt later on. I tell you, it hurt me very much that he chose his friends over us and his wife, who is my mother, who has no education. She could hardly write her name. She had only 4 elementary school, no education, no training, and were left alone with her sister, who was, and how could he do that? I don't know. Not to stay around. I will never forget that. So he went back. That was the last time I saw him. I was told by somebody who was tracing, one of the friends was they together with my father, that they were hiding at a peasant house somewhere, and then they got afraid, the peasant, after a while, and they had let them go. So they were handed back to the group, and then went into, and he was taken to Mauthausen, where he died. So, what happened after? That was in July. In October, when the Arrow Cross, the ultra fascist Hungarian group, came to power, in October 15, I remember so vividly, because everybody was so happy. The night before, the Hungarian ruler, Horthy, has announced that he steps out, quits the war, and everybody will be free. We threw away the yellow stars, took it on the street. People were singing, dancing on the street. I was watching from the balcony. They didn't let us out, children. This happening. We were very happy, and we went to sleep with that. The following morning, 16 German tanks appeared near the building and started shooting at the building. They said partisans were in the building, and they climbed and went into the building, and they shoot up our apartment especially. The bedroom and the dining was completely smashed with the Panzer tanks. For us, it was, children, was something to play with. And the following day, some Aerocross people invaded the building. We were downstairs, naturally, in the cellar, and they got everybody out, hands up, and emptied the building. They shoot. There was a guy there who is half-wit, a Jewish boy. They shoot him because he didn't know what's going on. And we took out to the street, hands up, and the people were shouting at us. I saw policemen standing on the regular policemen standing around there, and my mother asked, why don't they help us? Why don't they help us? Naturally. So they started to take us on the street, walking, and there are pictures, not me, but this happening is on some of the news events, which I saw later, that they took us in groups, hands up, all the way down to the main street, to a side street away, maybe half an hour later we arrived there, and he entered the house, which later I was told that the Aerocross captain had his lover there in that building, and he took us into that building. They had to put down all our stuff on the ground, standing in line, all our valuables to give to these Nazi guys.
Did they give you time to collect your valuables?
No.
They took the valuables.
Yeah, we had in our pocket for emergencies, my mother watch or jewelry on her neck or things, whatever we had with us. Because all the jewelry we had to, and including the radio and other communication, had to be, they were confiscated during the whole process. So, not this time, but before, previously. You couldn't have a radio. So, in that building, we were standing in line in the courtyard, and after a while they decided that we can spend the night there. So they sent into an apartment which was full of bed bugs. It was terrible. All night we were chasing bed bugs, and we were there about after 3 days. The guy decided he had robbed us enough and he had fun with her lover. I was told, so I later picked us up and take us back to the old apartment. So that was my mother and me, my sister, and me in the broken up apartment. That was in October 18, around that. Then they decided that we have to go to a new declaration. You have to go to the ghetto. You can't stay in those yellow houses anymore. But you have to go into the Jewish ghetto. My mother, in the meantime, somehow got a Swiss passport. Swiss passport was a lot of them. It was easy to get. They were just made copies like that. The Swedish also, the Swedish passport. And also, what's his name, that guy, Swedish guy? Yeah, Wallenberg issued, not him, a lot of people signed them, a lot of them. My aunt had, I got a hold of her Wallenberg card. So my mother found a place. She had to move into those designated Swedish houses. And my aunt, the Christian, has decided to take away, because she loved us. My sister, she will take it to her home because she is a girl, but she looks Jewish, so that was the problem. Took her home. And I went with my mother to this place. We had to hire a carriage or something, and they took us there.
What did you do for money?
My mother got salary of my father's salary was given to her, because the affiliates, the store was taken over by a responsible or trustworthy Christian who gave us the salaries out, continued to give us. That's how we got money. And so we went to that place. When we arrived, the place was overloaded. People lived everywhere. It was terrible. We went to an apartment. They said, in one room, they said they have a bed, and 4 of us have to sleep in that bed. That was the whole place. Then the room always full of people. So it was a terrible place. I was there for about a few days, and my Christian aunt, I don't know how, but got a connection to a agency, a Christian agency. It was called the Good Shepherd Institute, was translated into English, and that I found out later that this priest or bishop, I don't know what is his title, has had houses rented, and he had hiding 1,500 people there in those houses, mostly refugees from, I don't say all Jewish, refugees from Transylvania, from other Hungarian, who were really in need of housing. So she had that connection. And she took my sister because she was afraid people were talking in the house because she looked Jewish girl, that may be something wrong, and she has her husband there too and her son. So she took it to this institute, and a few days later she came for me, and she took me, I never forget, by tramway, streetcar, to this place. The trip, I never forget that, because I was bundled up. I looked very Jewish. I had my ears like that, black hair, and nose and ears. So was bundled up like I'm taking a sick child to the doctor. So we went there, and we placed that in that building. The building is still exists. Is 22 Vilma Királyné út, later called Gorgi Fasor under the Russians. It was a big building full of single women and children, different ages. We got sleep on the floor on mattresses next to the church area. They had a priest, they had nuns, and they gave Christian holidays, like Christmas was coming up. That was the only holiday. We are talking about end of November and Christmas time. And that's where we were, the two of us. And we didn't know about our parents, we didn't know about anybody. Sometime we were visited. I had an aunt, my mother cousin, who married a Chinese man. And so she became a Chinese person, because they were acrobats. They went to circles Europe, and she was Chinese. And she came to visit us in that place, and sometimes she bought some leftover food. So there we were. It was. We had to eat. They gave us food. I didn't know what the papers we got. I don't know how she got in there. We just stayed there, and we said we are not Jewish. We are, Christian. That was the only thing we had to say, and people didn't care much about. Everybody cared about themselves. The Russians are already it was in end of November, the Budapest, they start to take over around. Everything was fine. Then.
Did you go to school there?
Hmm?
Did you learn there? Did you have school?
No, just play, nothing, no education, nothing. Just when the Russians started to come closer, all the stuff disappeared, including the priest, the nurses. There were nurses there, help, anybody. The only left is the janitor, who were cooking for people. And some of the people left too, because a lot of them was afraid of the Russians. They had a bad reputation that they are molesting women. So, but we were stayed. So as the front came up, and we got the glasses broken, we were cold, we were freezing, and we couldn't, there was no cleaning, nobody taken care of. We had to take care of ourselves and myself.
How many children were there? Do you remember?
I don't remember. Had a few. At the end, maybe there was 30, 35, when we had liberated. During that time, the front went and up and down, lots of fighting over there. We were very, in end of November, I remember that the Jewish institution, a children for boys, were across the street, not very far from us, an institution for those who were no parents. And they were picked up by the Arrow Cross and were taken away. I don't know what happened to them, but we were so afraid they're gonna come to us. They might have come, I don't know.
How did you find out about that?
Somebody told me that. It's people knew what happening there. And we were, at the end, as I read the book about it recently, not one person was lost in this institution. But there were 1,500 people all over the city, and this priest was able to save all those people.
Did you meet him?
No, no. That I read about a book not long ago from the library. And that's where I read about it, that it was about January between 13 and 16 when we were liberated. The Rush first, we got Germans came. They sit in the basement, in the entrance, because they put up a gun in the garden. Some soldiers, we seen them, they were so tired, didn't care who they are or what we are, just wanted to warm place to sit for a while. And then they left. They were told that to move away because our children here. That was the German soldiers. And then the Russian came. The Russian very friendly. They loved children because they saw children. I remember they picked up my sister. My sister is a very cuddly girl, very good, 4 or 5 years old. She was so nice and she was so friendly and so cute. So one of the soldiers picked her up and gave her a piece of bread and kissed her. And then I asked her, give me some of the bread. She didn't give me. This thing you don't forget. I told her later. And we were dirty. We haven't got a shower, maybe a month already. Since the window broke, the washroom was next to us, so we couldn't clean ourselves. Nobody cared for us. Nobody changed that. Full of lice, head lice and regular lice and frozen. It was terrible.
And you had food?
Well, I remember, they gave us cans. We lived in the cellar. I was sleeping in 2 chairs. 2 chairs huddled together. And they came, this janitor gave us open cans, and there was canned beans in it. And give us, here is a little bit of beans. That was the food, really. Because she was the only one, the janitor, who took care of us. There was no class, nobody. There was people with small children, babies. There were people with pregnant. And I remember one day, I had to run down, and a woman asked me to help her. She would give me some food. And I did, and she gave me a cup of something, some papes, I don't remember, in a cup. That's how I got food. And when we were liberated, I mean, the Russians came, and everybody started to go, except the children didn't know where to go. I remember talking to a guy about my age or even older. Where you go? I said, I don't know, maybe I'd go Palestine. She said. I said, okay. So I was waiting for somebody to pick us up. Something happens. That was in January. And finally, one day, maybe January 20th, when we was able to go, a woman came for us. The woman was the cousin of my mother, who went with Christian papers. So she was communicating and going around while she could. And so she knew where my mother was, she knew where everybody in the family was. But she didn't tell me. She said, I've come to get you. So where are you going? Going to your aunt, the Christian aunt. And she picked up us, and in the snow, in the ice, stumbling over dead horses and dead Russians and dead Germans. It was early January. The other side of the river, they were still fighting, and the guns and planes were going and coming.
You scared?
Oh yeah, she was scared too, and all the way, because there was no transportation. And this walk, it's a long walk. I would say at least an hour walk. So it's a long walk. We close to the Városliget, to the zoo, and where we lived, and this was down south. Even from our own house we used to live, it's where it was very far. So anyway, we took us there. When we went in, she was looking at us, and right away she unstripped, took us everything what we had on, and burned it, put it in the fire. She had a fireplace there. I mean, in the bathroom, you were making hot water with a big tank and a fire under it, the old-fashioned way, and put everything there. She saw we are full of bugs, and I was put in a hot bath. I never forget that feeling, to go hot water on you in a hot bath. It's like being in heaven. I never forget that. So she bathed us, both of us. She gave us food, put on some clothing. My cousin, who is 4 years older, had clothing there, so I could wear his clothing. And his apartment was only 2 small bedrooms. So a small apartment, where we are now, they are 3 and we 2, so 5 persons. And and I was very sick. I can tell you, I was in bed for a month. After that, my hand frozen. I was full of pus everywhere on my body, because no vitamin, missing vitamin. One of my fingers here was almost lost. It's completely different than the rest of them, because these have no feeling. And this, because it's frozen. Even today you can see the difference of the nails from the rest of it. And he sent me, he took me to the doctors diligently and took care of us. And we were full of lice, head lice, taste lice. We had the smell because they put in all those things. It was a terrible condition. and we still didn't know about our parents, what happened. So it took me 2 months to recover. My sister was easier. She was covered faster than me because it looks like I got the brunt of it. And after start to recover, we went back to the old apartment, and whatever was left in that place, we took it out.
Do you remember what was there?
Well, they had some coat from my father, and pants and shoes. The happiest was when she found a bottle of goose fat for cooking. My mother was hiding it in the closet in the tank, and they found it. That was a great achievement, great found. And he was holding it, the jewelry from my family, but they later denied it. So that gave fraction with me and my mother and her sister. And we found out later, through my uncle and the Red Cross, that my mother was survived with her sister, and barely. Her sister, my aunt, told me that she was already wanted to die, and she said, "You have 2 children. You have to go back. You have to go back." So she was in Sweden till 46 June, and she sent some money to them to take care of, or some from the Jayas. They went to the Jayas, I remember, who gave us some food and clothing while we were there with my uncle. When they came back in 1946, we went to school. Okay, we moved to Andrasut, and I went to school when my cousin went, in the gymnasium, Moda's gymnasium. So not to the Jewish gymnasium where I was initially intended to. But they wanted to do 2 cousins together. So we went there.
And how was it at school? Do you remember?
Hmm?
Were they nice to you at school? Did they treat you well?
Well, there was a few Jewish people there. And we had even a Jewish educator for 3 years before communists took over. And but I was a bad student. The war took me really hard. Until I was about 18, 19 years old, I had nightmares about the war and my happening. So I was really worked over with my experience.
Did you talk to someone about it, or you just lived with it?
No.
Nobody talked about it.
I had real nightmares. It took me a long time to get rid of it. And I was a bad student. Couldn't concentrate, that's the problem. Then my eyes, I had to get the glasses when I was 13. And it has affected my upbringing and education. So they came back in 1946. I didn't know about my grandparents. In they accepted my mother. We went to live, my mother and my aunt, when they came back by train from Sweden, and we went to live with my aunt's house, the Christian aunt,
Do you remember what it was like when you first saw your mother?
Oh. Well, I first saw when she arrived at the station. It was great. It was a great feeling. So, went to live with my aunt, and there they discovered a lot of things from my house and jewelry, what they kept, and they keep telling to my mother and her sister that the Russian take away, that's not ours. They got so fight, especially my aunt is a fighter, my mother not so, and we left with anger. We went to her aunt. We lived there for a couple of weeks, and by then we got my uncle from New York sent money to buy an apartment. We couldn't go back to the old one because somebody took it already. So she bought, I think, $2,000 and bought an apartment on Rákóczi út on the main road, 2-bedroom apartment. 2 room. It's only 2 rooms. There is 1 bedroom and 1 main room. And 46 summer, they painted it and we moved in. And my mother went to Miskolc to visit my grandmother's place. And she came back, whatever she found, it was it. A scale, an old-fashioned scale. That's all she found of her belongings. She was not let in, she was dejected, and then she decided that's it for religious education and keeping the religion.
She didn't stop believing in God?
Yeah,
Done.
complete.
And what about you?
I've never been a 10-year-old. What is a conviction? I'm not crazy about it. I followed it. I found it very strict, but for my parents' sake, I do it. So I was not a innovator or goer. I was too much. I was a very sensitive boy, I would say.
And what happened to the store?
A store. The store, my uncle sent some money. They told them that the store is doing so well. And actually, no. They rebuilt it, a part of it, because the whole store has been burned down completely in 44. And one little section was usable, and that's where the relatives, his brother-in-law and partners, there was no partner, went in and to continue whatever they found. My uncle came back. She was already 45 years old at the time, very old already. Not very young as people that time. And he had other endeavors he wanted to do. And he came back, brought money, looked around. Then the communists started to take over things. make it difficult for people to do something. But she continued, and he sent the money. And he wanted to issue a new stamp for Franklin Delano Roosevelt, stamp with the Hungarian government. And first they wanted it, they made the stamp, then they don't, so everybody cheated him. He had his wife, who stayed in Hungary, I forgot to tell you, lived 3 buildings away where I was hiding in that place. But when she came out, she was hit by a shrapnel and he died on the spot, his wife. So he met a woman in New York, wanted to marry. The woman is also thought that he's rich. Then he found out he's not rich, but he is. And when he came back 2 times, they realized that the people who were running the store was just robbing them blind. So when he came, he was so desperate that he killed himself. Yeah. In 1947, October,
This was your uncle?
he killed himself. And right after that, the company went bankrupt. I have the papers. They owed 600,000 forints or something. They had so much debt. And he was only 50 years old. That's also, I don't think it's right that an uncle who has 2 sisters with 2 children, nothing to do, they have no trade, nothing. Okay, he was the second wife. My mother is from the second wife. My uncle from his first wife, he was alone. He's the oldest brother, oldest person. He was 50 years old in 1947, and he killed himself. And I'm thinking about it because he didn't see anything to go on. He didn't care for much anybody else, family. So my mother and her sister and us left alone. We found my father died in Mauthausen, and we were my aunt went to work in an office. She was more capable, she had more education. And my mother was trying to work at home, doing some plastic things at that time. But after a while, when she was declared that my father died, officially, she got through connection a permit to open a tobacco store. It was a government monopoly, so the government has to give permit somebody to open a tobacco store. So she got a tobacco store, and she became very successful. Running it, she worked 3 weeks, and then a partner came in for 3 weeks and made enough money till the communists take completely over in 1950. And after that, she has to work for the government for almost nothing. We don't say we were starving, but almost. The thing. And we went to school, I went through education.
Did you have to learn, did it change in the convents?
Yeah, I had to
Did you
learn.
learn? Was it the same system, or you learned different things with the convents?
Well, they have their propaganda. They have to say the same things, but I never believed them. I pretended. And the main thing is that my mother never married, and I missed a man. I missed a boy, missing a man in the house. So I was on my own. And my mother could know better from experience. I didn't get direction. I was practically on my own thoughts. And when I graduated from high school in 1952, I was thinking what to do. So I was not a good student, but I choose a easy way out, because during the early years I was learning English privately. My uncle, when he was alive, he wanted me to learn English. So he paid for private English lessons. So they opened a new school where they were teaching languages. This is called Foreign Languages School, high school, not school, college. It's a 3 years, and you are graduated, and you graduate, you get into jobs. So in 1955, I graduated, and I went there instead of going to better education, like to being, what's the name, an accountant. We could have gone that way. But I didn't have experience then. Later on I got into it. But I didn't have experience then, and I said, 4 years, I don't know, at least nobody to tell me where to choose, where to go, which direction. A young man, I was just way out. My friend was not even graduated. He failed high school. And another friend had a very good education, but he was denounced by the communist regime because her father owned a tavern. So he was a bourgeois, you know. So he couldn't go anywhere. So he went to the same school as I did. And I graduated after 3 years in English, and they sent me to a government run. It's called Agrimpex. It's which sells and imports, because everything was government run. Nothing. It sell imports and exports. Doesn't come to my word. Products, mostly seeds and anyway. So I went there, and that was in 55, and I found my wife, I got love, and we were 56, we engaged.
Was she also a survivor?
Hmm?
A survivor as well?
Yeah. But she was a baby. She's 4 years younger than me, and she was in a nunnery. Nun. And so I went there, and I tried to be a good communist, participating in. You had to be in the youth movement to participate. Otherwise, you have no chance to move ahead. And came the revolution in 56. Actually, in the summer, my wife got jaundice, and she got sick. Not, it was not my wife, just a girlfriend. And her parents lived in the country, so to build her up, she decided to go back to her parents, to the country, to build her up. That was in August, September, rather. 56, October came the revolution. We were cut off. Always my life, I wanted to go abroad. I like to travel. I enjoy traveling. I wanted to go out, see the world. I got sick with the communism and all these things. My friend came and they say, we are going. And I was away because I was worried about my lover, my love, and I decided to travel down to the country, which you had to hire a truck and other people and go together. So I went down, I stayed a few days with her, came back to the capital together. In the meantime, my friends left already for the West because they have decided to leave. So on December the 2nd, I decided to go. So we just had no connection, we didn't know people, we were happy together, and we decided to leave. So we left, got off the train at the border, and started to go on the fields. But Russian caught us. We were caught, a group of people caught us. They brought us back. So we were in misery and disappointed. In the meantime, my sister decided to live with her friend. So she left 10 days later, and she made it through the border. She got through because her friend who went with had relatives at the border who helped her to go through. But I lost contact, Just I know that she left. My mother was mad and she was afraid and this and that. So we said we're gonna try again. So I tried again around December 24. We were caught again. And we tried again January. We were caught again. And the last time they put my name on officially that I was caught. I had 3,000 forints with me, not much money that, and taken away. So I came back. When I came back, I wanted to go to work, didn't have a job. The personnel was a very hard communist, got the paper that I wanted to leave, and he was Jewish though, but he kicked me out and put me on a blacklist. It meant I can find a job according to my education. From 1957, January, February, I was kicked out. I worked went to work in a factory, helper, worked as an assistant to an electrician. So just manual jobs, and sometimes I got job with the matzahs factory. In Budapest, we made matzah. So it was a 6-month period, a longer period of job. So until 1959. 59, my mother's cousin was active in the local politics and was able to get me a job as a storekeeper in one of the government places. And in the meantime, because when you graduate from university, you got a training and a title as an officer of the army. So they said they're gonna cut me down from the army. They defrock me. So they take away my title. Well, I didn't mind about it. And after that, he was able to get me to the National Bank of Hungary in 1960. So 1960, and all the time I said, after all this, I want to leave. I'm not going to stay in this country. So 1960, I went into National Bank. I was very good at my job. I was doing the National Bank. We were doing import-export licenses for this company whom I used to work before, the traders. But we did all the paperwork, the money transfers and all kind of things. And the bank, they liked me. I was going ahead. I was teaching new students there. And I was promised that in the bank you have to get ahead by somebody dying out or retiring. So I already promised assistant manager of a group of people. Okay, fine. I could play their game. So, and in the meantime, I said, they started in 62, 63. In 62, my wife got pregnant. And we said we have to wait till we get to the West. And unfortunately, I told her, we're not going to get a passport. There's no way. With a small baby. Or we have to leave it here. So we decided to have an abortion.
And you could do that? Wow.
So we had an abortion and decided to continue out. And in 1963, I decided I'm trying a passport for myself to go to Vienna by meaning that I can get out, and if I can get by myself, we'll see what happens. My question was to get it to learn German language. So I was called into the Interior Ministry. And there in the ministry there was a communist official. And he said, Mr. Molnar, you have wanted to leave the country. How can I give you a passport? Oh, I love the country. I love this and I don't want to go anywhere because I have a future here. My future is here and everything is fine. I'm going ahead in my ability is there and I'm promised a beautiful future. And the only reason I didn't want to leave the country. The only reason I wanted to go because my mother was begging me to bring back my sister from Vienna because she missed her very much and she left. So that was my story. He took it. He gave me a passport to Vienna. So I went to Vienna. I was there alone about a week. My sister sent me some money. She was already in Canada. and and that was the time when Kennedy was killed. I was in Vienna. So after that was in November. I came back. No, I said, this time I'm gonna want to the whole passport for both of us. Let's see. So 64, January, I asked for a passport for both of us to go to England, where she had an aunt. And she got an invitation from England, from my aunt. And we got the passport. So June 16, I said, I'm not going there because my sister told me to go to Rome, where the Jewish people already waiting for me and have all the information to take care of me. So I should go to Rome. So I had to get visas. The explanation is that I want to see the world, and I got a week in Rome and then go to England and I come back. We got a plane, we got on an airplane, a rickety airplane, and we arrived in Rome in 1964. We arrived in Rome, me and my wife. Then the beauty started, the freedom. I don't know what you want to hear anymore after that.
What happened to your mother?
My mother stayed there, and she was brought out. My sister brought her out before 1 year before I came. So she came out as a visitor, but she stayed.
To Canada.
To Canada, yeah.
So how did you get from Rome to Canada?
Oh, from Rome I had to go to Trieste, to the refugee board, the United Nations Refugee Board was Trieste, and because this was a new thing for them, so they sent me down the Jewish agency. So I went there, and it was a terrible place. We couldn't stay there because all these people from Yugoslavia came in there, and they lived in an old barrack where there is no running water, there is no toilet, nothing. So I said I'll stay outside in a motel. And when the hearing is 2 days later for us to stay as a refugee, I stayed there. I still have the Italian passport. I still kept that. And so we stayed there, then we went back to Rome, then we were accepted refugees, and the rest of them just had to go to the Canadian embassy and arrange to come. Invitation from my sister to Canada, to Montreal. My sister was already married with 2 children.
And you went to Montreal?
Yeah. I was there and came over in 87. I had enough with the French.
What did you do in Montreal?
Oh, Montreal, what I did. Yeah, when I was first, I went to work as a bookkeeper. I learned something about bookkeeping, and after 6 months, that company went down. They gave me $60 a month, and it was a Polish guy, and then. Through somebody told me that there is a factory there on sweater knitting, a knitting factory, where I can be assistant to the owner. So I went there, I was assistant. It means that I assisted him in shipping, in receiving, and things like that. Nothing special. Then I said, the money is not enough, I'm looking for something else. So I found somebody, Carry Strap Corporation called, and became an office manager of that company. And the company owner was a Hungarian Jew, and he offered me increase after 2 years, and didn't keep his word. That's usually what happens with the immigrants. So I said, I'm with you, I'm not gonna stay here. What I should have done to work for the government, I realized it much later, because it became unionized. But so I left him and went back to another guy whom I knew was part owner in the sitting mill. He opened a new factory. He needed a trustworthy person who can run a textile factory. So there was the textile, the technician, and me was running. I was with the material, getting the material out, getting it in, and the technician who ran the machines. And I was there from 60. No, it was in 72, 73, 82. In 82 it went bankrupt. The double knit at that time went down completely. And it was a so-called double knit factory. And then had the problem because after that I couldn't find a job. There was 82, a recession. I was already old, relatively old, and I had to keep myself going when my daughter was born. I lived in Côte Saint-Luc, so I didn't have much money. In the meantime, I made a good decision. Well, first a bad decision. First I bought a house in 75, then came Levesque, prices went down. I couldn't rent the duplex. I sold it, I lost maybe a few $1,000s. Then I went to Côte Saint-Luc, I got a lucky step because I rented a high-rise, and they sold the high-rise to condominiums I lived in. And I bought it. I paid $35,000 for it, and sold it for 72. It's down into 200s or 300 now. And then I decided that I needed the money and I bought a store. I was running it for a few years. The store started to go down because it was a store in a neighborhood where the children started to grow up, and the competition was great, especially Shoppers Drug Mart was selling school supplies. I was selling school supplies. So it didn't work out. I sold it with loss, and I said, that's it, I'm going to Toronto. I came to Toronto. In Toronto, I bought a open window bakery. Heard about it, open window bakery, in Mississauga. They built a new one in a mall. That happiness just started, doesn't last long. because in the mall there was a Lobla, or I don't remember what was, and I had the bakery. I was selling bakery products. Next to me opened a coffee shop. We said coffee shop. I was selling sandwiches and coffee and things like that. And supermarket started to do bakery, their own bakery. So it started to go down again. I was not lucky. So I sold it. It's not there anymore, long gone. And I lost some money, but while I was going in the first 2 years everywhere, every business was good. I was making money, but just middle time finished. So what after that? In 92, again, things were down. Recession in the 90s. So what I'm going to do? I made a mistake in a way with a friend of mine. So what can I do? I do little things. I decided to buy a luncheon, cafeteria luncheon at of Dufferin. I forgot the name of the street. The store was, the place was booming. People were coming from the dealership, auto dealership. They coming from the factories around, and the building, and they had catering. There was businesses there, and I protected myself by not how would I say, not being responsible for everything. So the lease was like that. I took over a lease, and it cost me the place $150,000, and I paid him $75,000 cash, hourly cash, then with an installment. It was owned by a Greek, and the Greek had lots of friends. So whenever I went and checking the store, the place was full of people. At lunchtime and after lunch, selling beer, wine. He had a helper, and I brought a friend. I thought he knows something about business, and he recommended it. So after watching it for 1 month, I decided to buy the building. I signed the contract. I took over the business. The customers disappeared. It turned out that his father had a big, at the horse racing, had a franchise restaurant there, and he had a lot of Greek friends. And they came in, and we sat there, and this, and ate, and that. So what happened? The business went down. There was a recession. Lots of business factories closed around. The building was getting empty. The rent was $2,000 a month. That was in August, I think, or July. And I tried to hire the guy who was doing real food, not just sandwiches. It helped a little bit once, but The neighbor was a Chinese importer. And the Chinese importer came over and saw what a good business. So he opened a Chinese restaurant in his place, selling Chinese food. But he stopped it too because people didn't come after. So I was losing money, not making money. So I said, that doesn't work out. In October, I closed down the place and threw away the key. He couldn't sue me because I was not responsible for it. So the old owner who sold me came back and tried to run it, but he closed it too. He closed it because he didn't go. The owner's son made it. The owner had a good business in the horse racing. That was in 1992, and my wife said, stay home and don't do anything anymore. You are not lucky enough. So I stayed home. I took my early pension, and in 95 I decided to do something and started to drive school bus. Made a little bit of money. I drove it till 1999. In 1999, Circle of Care was looking for a driver. So I went to Circle of Care, and I was the one who established, because they got gift in the old place on Wilson Road, that was that. They got a station wagon, so they told me to go and get customers, and it will cost $5 for a trip, and go anywhere, and maybe 5-6 people. So I drove them around. I got some money. I brought in money. Then they got another car. But it was 1959, 1960. In 1962, summer, yes. I was crossing here. Now there is a light. If you go below Lawrence, the first light, there was no light there. So I was crossing with a customer, and somebody hit me. Accident, complete accident. So they took me off the road because of the accident. And now there is a light, a red light, crossing light. That time was nothing, just one, because I was crossing the main road. It was my fault, not the one who was rushing down from Lawrence. And 2 months later, I got my first heart attack, and everything stops. That was the end of my working career. My wife worked till she was 65 years old, another year or two, and she retired. Imagine, she worked for the government agency at that time, and she was fired because they wrote a law that you have to retire at the age 65 that year. You know about it? Yeah, you remember. Out of the job. And she was 65. No way to get another job. And then here I am.
And you have a daughter?
I have a daughter.
And grandchildren?
2 grandchildren and a son-in-law. They live in. It was also a big deal because she was lots of boyfriends, but nobody wanted to marry her. So, and one guy to another, lousy relationships. It was terrible with her. And she went through Jewish schooling. She graduated from Montreal Jewish School. So the last time she had a boyfriend who worked for, well, I don't remember suddenly the name, the big company at Wilson in the back, makes trains and airplanes.
Oh.
So I think the guy is still there. Anyway, not Jewish. Besides that, so they lived together. So after a while, I said, invited them to come. We met in a restaurant and invited to come to my place. And we were talking, and I said, the guy, do you have any intention to marry my daughter? Or how long you want to go and live together? No, I don't want to marry. That shocked my daughter. And she left the guy. So after that, my wife, who doesn't leave things going just like that, said, you have to go and find a Jewish boy. I don't want anybody else. So she went to this Jewish agency. I don't know if they still have it. It is where on the internet you can meet Jewish guys. You have your choice. You have pictures and everything. So first she went herself. My wife checked out who are they or what are they. So they meet in a restaurant, and we get a place. When they see each other picture, she made the picture and pick up a guy. Wanted to my wife to pick the picture. I mean, my daughter to pick the picture. No, no Jewish. I don't care. Modern girl. So what? Finally, we saw a guy's name from Halifax. He's from Halifax. How about that? Yeah, okay. So she went, she met the guy, and she married her. And finally, and she's my daughter is about shorter than me, and like my wife, below 5. The guy is 6'2". He's a Jewish boy from England. I mean, the family from England. They came over to Canada, the father and the 3 children in 2 children. The boy was born here to Halifax, and he practiced in Halifax. He was a dermatologist, well known. He just died 2 years ago, a year ago maybe. And he had a sister. His mother is dead too, suddenly. So he has only a sister and a brother in California. Very religious, and the guy was very religious. They keeping kosher, and despite the rejection which she got for me about Jewishness, she is kosher. Children, it's very expensive in Toronto. They can't afford. She's a nurse. She became a nurse because my wife said, you have no talent, you know this, go to nurse. Always get. So she's making good money. She's 30 years already a nurse at the North York General. And we didn't have much contact, but there is a turnaround now. She calls me every day since we are separated. She visits her mother 2-3 times a week, despite the work she had. And she can send to Jewish school, but they go in Sunday school, Jewish Sunday school, the children.
And do you believe in God again? No. Are you proud that your grandchildren are learning?
Yeah,
You're still proud.
they are great. I have pictures. They are loving children, they 2 girls, and besides, because of all these years and boyfriends and everything else, she couldn't produce a child. They tried. She was married, was 34 years old, and now she is 52. And they tried, it didn't work out. So they adopted a girl, a Jewish girl, who gave up the first week the child because the parents, she didn't want the parents find out. She never saw the child, but she's a loving girl, 11 years old. And 1 month later, they went to India, and they spent a fortune to get a surrogate mother. And they got their own child from an Indian surrogate mother. That's a story. I guess other people have stories too. What shall I say? I was in what was that? 2013. I had my heart attack 2002. The second one is 2014. 2013, my wife had problems walking. She had her hip replacement, a botched hip replacement, because it fell. She fell and broke it 2 days later. And since then, she had problems. All the machines you see in that room, walkers, is for her. And but last January 1st, she couldn't get out of the bed. She collapsed, had to call the ambulance, and never returned home because she couldn't stand up on her feet, and they can do nothing about her. They tried to do it. They tested this and that. Now she's in the Baycrest. In the meantime, she has dementia because she had diabetes. The whole family, her mother, her grandmother, all diabetes. My mother had diabetes, but I didn't get it. It didn't come to me, and didn't come to my daughter, who is so strict with the diets to keep in the family that she wouldn't take any sweets or anything. Any questions?
No. Do you have any other stories, or should we look at the pictures? Any other memories?
Well, my cousin, I was talking about, the Christian woman.
Yeah.
She lives in Montreal. He is 93 years old. And his wife, who is a lot younger, Romanian origin, Romanian-Hungarian origin, 12 years younger, taking care of him. And I went to the doctor myself, see a change cardiologist. I went to a surgeon in Sunnybrook because I got a diagnosis that one of my, you see, when a triple bypass, and one of the bypass is completely blocked. and I got tired. That's how he said, very fast. So I went to the Sunnybrook to try an angioplasty. Few months ago, February or January, I don't know. And they said they can't touch it. So I went to change cardiologist, a group of cardiologists, and they said, I said, how can I longer I live? He says, there is no limit. You can live for long. I don't know. And so I figure I'm on given time, living time, and I try to be here. I got help from Circle of Care every day, 6 times a week. Somebody comes. And it's not so much cleaning, because how many times you clean? But it gives a chance to speak with somebody. Otherwise, I'm at home. I go nowhere. Why? It's tiring. I drive. I still have my car. First I wanted to give up. I said, what the hell? It's paid for. Just gas. Imagine a year I make 1,000 kilometers, so I don't drive much. I get help from driving to visit my wife and back from Circle of Care. And it's only just a few months ago when I started, a year ago probably. And I try to take care of myself. Sometimes I cook, sometimes I bring food. My income is not that great, but it's enough to live, because thank to the survival benefit we got from the Germans. And I have to pay for her $3,000 a month on Baycrest, despite government help. So emotionally it's very difficult. So I don't want to meet her so often, because it's very tiring, very hard. I think I told about my grandparents, how I loved them. I visited in Miskolc before, in holidays. And today's world is terrible, I can tell you. It's not getting better. It's just getting worse. So, if you want anything out of this, this is my father's name. That's from the monument in Hungary, cemetery, Jewish cemetery, where all the people, as part of it, didn't come back. The name is here. Mondl Lipót. So it has no grave, just that, a monument. As I told you, this is my great-grandfather, grandfather,
You have to hold it up so they can see it.
and grandmother. It's so small. I have, on the internet, I have magnified it. I don't know what you want to see.
If there's any pictures that you want to show.
Well, this is my father's family. That's grandmother. Never,
You have to show.
never,
You have to put it up.
never saw them.
Can you?
She died when she was 24. And that's my father and his two siblings, two fathers, and my grandmother. She lost her husband in 1910 when they were children. So this was about that time. The guy was a agent, a traveling agent, traveling salesman, and died of pneumonia. That time no penicillin, and she got liver problem. This is grandmother, grandfather, and me on the top. Okay? This is my grandmother, brother, and sister. The thing is about them, they had 3 boys and a girl. The girl went to Auschwitz with them. The boy survived. But I don't know anything about them. I saw them after 45. One of them died when he went with his wife to the West, Vienna. I found his grave in Vienna on the internet because it was in a private place. No, pictures about it. Yeah. I don't know if it's interesting. And this me as a baby.
Do you have pictures of the school that you went to or anything?
That's okay. This is my family. Uh, 1939 maybe. 38 fall. He liked to go to take pictures of the family, my family. This is me, like a small boy here.
Do you have pictures of your wife?
I'm going to that's a teenager, that's a graduate of school. That's my wife's parents. Very Orthodox. She's coming a very Orthodox family. That's her.
Do you have one you want to show?
I mean, these children. That's when I was courting her. She was 16 here.
Do you have one you want to show to the camera?
I don't know. I saw young pictures.
Or today, if you have one with your daughter and grandchildren?
Okay, I'll show this one. Can I do that? I have this picture there. Over there. I think so. On the left side. That little one. That's the same picture. See, here. But that's what I'm talking about.
That's you and your wife?
Yeah. You can get this area just that, or I have to show that.
No, it's good.
Okay? Yeah? That's in Budapest. Okay, here's my mother. That's my mother. That's my aunt, her sister. You wanna put it on? Playing cards. That's my Budapest apartment before I left. It's in Miskolc. This guy here, my nephew, my sister's son. It's in New York. A rich guy, very rich, lawyer. He has a real story. Okay, now I would rather show something else. Here in the bedroom, you want to see the wedding picture? I think I can see that one. The other one. Not right.
You probably have to do it.
This is me and my mother before getting married. Want to show it to you?
If you always want to put something down, I don't want to show it to others.
Careful.
Okay? You just hold the frame up. You don't have to forget.
You can see through the
Yeah.
glass.
Sure.
This one is the family picture from 1943, before the Holocaust. Here my uncle, my father, my mother, grandfather, grandmother, we children, my father's sister and her husband. This is my mother's
Wedding.
um, okay.
I see it. Use it.
Who is that?
Hmm?
Who is that?
My mother and husband
Ah,
before I was born. You can see from the pose. What I wanted to, what you got my grandparents, I can,
you got. What about your daughter?
never got the latest one. No. I don't know. Already 11, but they don't give me the picture. My wife has the picture. I don't know. This is a watch. This is one of them. One separately, right? Because that's in. Or shall I take them out?
No?
No. Both of them. Here is, now it's 10 and 11. I think it must be 6, maybe. Well, this is before the marriage. They married in 1964. The guy has
64.
beard. No, he doesn't have a beard.
That's your daughter.
My
So
daughter,
She got married
yeah,
in
that's
20.
Hmm?
What year did she get married?
64.
No.
No,
She was born probably in 64.
2014.
Yeah. That makes more sense. Yeah.
14?
Well,
She was 34 years old. You want it?
thank you.
My wife. I don't think you have my wife. Oh, I have only that picture. I had my marriage in Budapest, Kazinci, which is an Orthodox church, and that was the first marriage after the revolution. And one witness on the marriage was my very Orthodox. Where is it? My grandfather's brother was there.
You can just show it.
Hmm?
Put it up.
He's the youngest brother. And that is this guy here. This is my father-in-law. And me in the middle. You know, you can see in the hookah.
That's great. Thank you.
Do I have pictures from my wife? Do you have pictures nowadays, or I mean later? Then we made the picture.
Is that good?
I think that one we had when I was married. I was thinking. And she was showing her form. These are the old ones.
Yeah.
So I'm going to a newer.
Is that your wife there?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
that's nice.
That one she was the first
Grandchild.
grandchild.
That's nice. Look at that. That's nice. Oh, that's good.
Okay. That's my daughter.
Yeah. Thank you. Is there anything else that's it?
Well,
Pictures?
I guess.
You're happy?
There was always something I wanted probably later on, but that's how it is.
Yeah. Thank you very much. So these are from your father's store?
No, that's my uncle's store. The small store, I don't have anything. Tell me, is there anybody interested in old documents? Here, you said 100 years old documents about my family. And my daughter is not interested. She doesn't understand Hungarian at all. Is there anything? Birth certificate, marriage certificates, my grandparents. Nobody's interested. Look at this, how old. No, you don't know.
Is that the picture you want to show?
Where's the rest of them? I don't know where I put the rest of them. I thought I put it here. You see, the thing was, everything is in filér. Filér is like pennies in Hungary. So this is a
What is that?
shop window of the store. There's the textile department. And here is
That's the store.
that's the store.
That's your family's business.
Your uncle's business.
Hungary films never existed.
Ungar Ernő Filéres Divatház. Did you make a picture? Because interestingly, my sister talked to a guy and he dig up, said a lot of pictures for this store. And I have a picture. I went to a museum after the 56 revolution, I mean after the communists fell. And in the museum there was a picture in the store in the background. And that was during an air raid. People were going into an air raid at that square, and the square showing the picture of that. Unbelievable. Okay. I'm not gonna dig anymore.